Thank you so much. Now, guys, as I said, I have a kind of surprise. I'm done here. Do you remember when we started this kind of translation about what's good in goodbye, what's fair in farewell, what's common in love and lie? I guess it's just the letter L. And I gave you the translation, again, written and translated by Mr. AMMAR Gouasmia. The surprise, and I think you've noticed my surprise, Mr. AMMAR is with us today. I'm going to ask him a question or two, but before asking him that question, let's have another look about another one of his translation. So let me show you the following slide, just a minute. Okay, here we go. So that's the old one. And this is the new one. He said in Arabic, سيمر كل مر. Okay, notice the pun here. Before reading the translation in English, I am going to explain the meaning of the word pun. Any idea about the word pun? Especially my students, okay? Those who studied with me study skills. We studied an example about pun, okay, probably in the 3rd or 4th lecture, if you still remember. The sentence was 7 days without water can make 1 week. Do you remember that example, guys? Pun. Sorry, I didn't write it. I wrote it privately. Just a minute, please. So for everyone, I wrote it privately to Miss Yusra, actually. So this is the word pun. Yes, P-U-N. It means play on words. When we say 7 days without water can make 1 week, if you don't drink water for 7 days, you will feel tired, exhausted, fallible, and weak, right? So this is the first meaning, the literal meaning. But when we say 7 days, and let me write it, by the way, because we have different spelling for the word week. The first one is 7 days without water can make 1 week. So notice the first version, week, W-E-A-K. Now this is the literal meaning. If you don't drink water for 7 days, you will feel so weak and tired, okay? The second meaning is 7 days literally equals 1 week. And this week is with W-E-E-K, okay? So here we are playing on words, right? I'm using the word week and week twice, but different spelling, different meaning. I am playing on words. Now, nice fun, thank you. It is in one of the books I teach at college. Now, here in this sentence, سيمر كل مر, you see we have mur, the last 3 lines in the first word, but the word sayamurru is totally different from mur, okay? This taste of bitter taste. Look at how many translations for this simple phrase. Pain won't remain. And I need you to notice the rhyme, pain, remain. Distress won't progress. Again, notice the rhyme, okay? So the translator here kept the pun, kept the rhyme, kept the meaning, kept the effect, okay? The deep effect given by these sentences. Grief is brief, gloom won't bloom, blues will diffuse, impasse will pass. Now, what is amazing here is that actually translating such clauses and phrases, including pun, rhyme, poetry, is so difficult, is so critical for even professional translators. So imagine that Mr. AMMAR here gave us more than 1 option. Actually, here we have something like 7 different options for this sentence. So lucky us, we have him with us today. Let's try to ask him how, or let's try to learn from his experience, how he could really manage to find so different versions, especially in such a kind of critical translation. Mr. AMMAR, here you go. Again, you are very, very welcome. We are so glad to have you here. Can you share your experience with everybody here, please?
So in fact, 6 p.m. in Algeria, so it's the evening. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be with you today and to join you in this e-lecture. In fact, I tried many times before to join you, but due to some obstacles, I couldn't make it.
So we are lucky.
But today, thanks to Allah, I am here with you. And about the question of our teacher, Aisha Musa, in fact, I am very, very, very fond about translating such, puns and word plays, and بالعربية نسميها التورية. والتورية طبعا تركب بين معنيين مختلفين في جملة واحدة، وعادة ما تكون مقفات يعني فيها سجع. Those rhymed sentences attract my translation skills in order to at least transfer them in form and function. So formal correspondence, then dynamic one. About the ability to have more than one translation, it's about, let's say, the words. It's about whether the words are there or you are going to dig deep in order to extract them. So at first, I might say that سيمر كل مر might be, let's say, number 3, anguish will vanish. Why? Because the form is similar to the source. So they are both affirmative sentences. No modulation there, no modification at all. So I kept the form and the function. Here we are talking about the translatability, because as long as we are dealing with, let's say, the sense, conveying senses, that would be 100% possible according to Jacobson. But whenever we combine, let's say, conveying senses and form at the same time, now we are approaching to untranslatability. So a good translator has to manage between exactly in the, especially in the literary translation, has to manage to do with the, let's say, the formal correspondence and the dynamic correspondence, or the formal equivalence and the dynamic equivalence. So he has to convey the form, the style, and the function, the meaning, the sense at the same time. And that is مأمورية معقدة جدا ما لم تمارسها بشدة وبشغف. So I prefer the procedure of modulation, التطويع باللغة العربية أو التحوير في بعض الكتب، حيث تقول هذه الخاصية you have to change the point of view of the receiver، يعني تغيير وجهة نظر المتلقي. مثلا قد تكون الجملة مثبتة وعندما تترجمها تأتي بالمضاد أو ضد الفعل ثم تنفي الجملة، فيكون نفس التأثير أو نفس المعنى ولكنه معبر عليه بطريقة أخرى. فعندما أقول سيمر كل مر وأترجمها إلى pain won't remain, you see that the sentence in English is negative, whereas in the Arabic it is affirmative. So in here it is modulation, and the type of modulation here is negated contrary، المضاد المنفي، يعني أن تأتي بضد الفعل. Let's say يمر الشيء، ضده هو يبقى في الإنجليزية قد أستخدم remain، ثم أنفي الجملة بعدما كانت مثبتة في العربية فأقول pain won't remain، لأنني نفيت الضد وبالتالي سيصبح بمعنى يمر. هذه واحدة من الخاصيات. الخاصية الثانية أنك قد تأتي بعدة بأكثر من دال ويجب أن تحافظ على المدلول نفسه، يعني different signifiers same signified. I don't know if you have dealt with this in linguistics, in dissocier dichotomy.
Some of them actually did, but not all of them, no.
Yes. So the signifier might be different from the source، يعني أنك تأتي بالدال مختلف، but you have to keep the signified the same. إذن المعنى بتاع الجملة أنه أي حاجة سيئة في حياتك ستمر. الآن كيف أعبر عن هذا المفهوم؟ مرة أقول pain, مرة distress, another time anguish, then grief, then gloom, then blues, then impasse. So different signifiers. But the signified is that I have to insist in the fact that this whatever signifier I mentioned will not stay there, will remain, will pass, will never be, let's say, forever there. So sometimes I affirm this sentence like grief is brief, or anguish will vanish, or blues will diffuse, or impasse will pass. And other times I negate the signifier there, but I keep the signified. So distress won't progress, pain won't remain. In the meanwhile, you have to keep the rhyme. So يمر ومر. المر في الثانية هي صفة أو اسم من المرارة. أما يمر الثاني فهو الفعل يمر مصرف في المستقبل مع الضمير let's say هو لغير العاقل لأنه كل مر سيمر. So in general and in brief, the question was about how to come up with these different translations for the same let's say source text. It's all about practice, guys, and before practice it's all about, let's say, courage. You have to be brave لتقتحم حصن أي نص مهما كان. وكما ذكرت الأستاذة الفرق بين الحصن والقلعة، أقول لكم أن النصوص في أي لغة هي حصون، ومن يتهيب اقتحام هذه الحصون، طبعا الاقتحام بمفهومه الإيجابي، لا نقول أن تقتحم غازيا أو معنفا، لكن أن تقتحمها لأجل العلم والتعلم. لا تهب، حاول، لا تخشى الانتقاد critics or critique، فهي تبنيك بعكس ما يظن البعض أنها تهدم. يعني الإنسان الحساس يجب أن يتخلص من تلك الحساسيات، أن يتشجع في اقتحام النصوص مهما كانت حسب شغفك، تقنية كانت أم أدبية، ثم بعد ذلك الممارسة. وأنا I bet that in such sessions with Dr. Aisha, I think that you are very lucky because you are practicing and learning like procedures and techniques and theories at the same time, but given much time for practice. And translation is practice, guys. I think that would help. The floor is yours,
Thank you
Aisha.
so much. Thank you so much for participation, for your participation, for such lovely ideas. You mentioned very, very important 3 ideas: passion first, courage second, and practice third. Yes, of course, they are so important actually in the field of translation, especially the first one, passion. If you don't love it, you will never work there. You mentioned some of the strategies. Actually, we have not yet started talking about the strategies, but modulation, yes, is a very important strategy in translation. But when you talked about the tools, digging deep, you mentioned something about digging deep, okay, to get the meaning. Are there any particular tools that you use? I mean, for instance, you know, to keep the rhyme, we have something like rhyming dictionaries. Do you use them? Are there particular books or tools that you use, resort to find, you know, such similar words like anguish, vanish, like a grief, brief, like a gloom, bloom? Because to keep thinking about that, I think it takes time. So what do you think?
Great. I have skipped that, but not in purpose. So I have to, let's say, clarify it. Great, that was a great question. In fact, all tools of this type are available online and applications. So if a rhyme doesn't seem like easy or available for me, I opt for the websites. I start from Google like anyone, right? Let's say words that rhyme with the word pain, and then he would provide you with a list of websites that give such information or that make such possibilities available. So he would provide remain, he would provide sane, insane, pain, gain, and then you would try to find the one that is that would help in achieving the translation you are looking for. For instance, sometimes let's say grief and brief right here. This is a good example. Grief and brief are different only in the first letter. The first one is G, the other one is B. Some websites deliver such service as, let's say, you can write a website, or let's say, change one letter to find another word. You write like this in Google, and then he would provide you with, let's say, the website Xworder or something like that. In this website, you can write the word grief, for instance, and then he would provide you with the possible spellings of other words that change only the first letter. And then you will choose the one that suits you. So they would change the first letter, and then they keep the same rhyme, if, and then you have G and B, grief, brief. And then you come up with your translation. So let's summarize. You need courage, you need practice, and you need searching a lot. While searching, you have to use keywords, كلمات مفتاحية تتحايل بها على جوجل. يعني everything is available. يعني عيب في العصر هذا أنك تقول الحاجة الفلانية لم أجدها. كل شيء متوفر، فقط عليك البحث بطريقة ذكية، بطريقة تتحايل فيها على المواقع بحيث توفر لك الخدمة التي تبحث عنها، يعني بالشكل الذي أنت في حد ذاتك لن تصدق أن هناك قائمين على هذا النوع من الخدمات. أتمنى أن يكون كل شيء واضح.
Thank you so much. We have actually learned a lot from that. And yes, indeed, there are some rhyming dictionaries. Probably yes. I will share one of them with you on the Telegram. If I forgot, just remind me. There are special cliches, probably today or next session, we're going to mention one of them. The meaning of these cliches depend on the rhyme. Just imagine, okay? We will see that. I will remind you about these when we come to that. Thank you so much again. We have learned a lot, okay? Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much, Mr. Ammar, again.